Now, I've been making videos on Mercedes-Benz for a number of years now, and nothing beats a good old tips and tricks video. I've travelled all the way to Milton Keynes at the headquarters of Mercedes here in the UK, and there's a whole load of Mercedes to have a look at with tips and tricks. Now, these could be convenience functions to hidden tips and tricks on your kind of climate control, and even things on the app, and just purely things you did not know. Let's take a look at the first section, which is climate control. So the first one today is on the auto button or the menu button. This does depend on your model of Mercedes. So basically, I know what you're thinking, well, menu is menu and auto just is automatic fan speed. There's actually a hidden function on one of those two buttons depending on your model. So on this car, it's actually the menu button. So you know how climate control, you have temperatures like passenger side and different temperatures driver's side, different fan speeds, sync and all this sort of stuff. Sometimes you just want it back to normal, synced and just the default temperature. So if you hold menu, hold it for around, I think it's about 4 or 5 seconds, and everything goes back to 22 degrees, sync with air conditioning on. There we go. Now, while we're on the climate control, there's also this one, which is the heated rear window switch. But did you know it also does the side mirrors as well? So particularly useful in the winter, as we're kind of pretty much in it now. If you turn them on, of course, it will actually remove pretty much all the water on the mirrors after about, I'd probably say about 5-10 minutes or so. So pretty cool. Here's a little time lapse of it demisting, so to speak, in just literally a few minutes. Now for this next one is if you use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Now I personally use Apple CarPlay, but I'm going to use Android Auto for this example. So, you know when you adjust your temperature, depends on the car, but most of them do this. It puts the temperature along the bottom. But look here on the bottom right, Android Auto and the temperature is kind of over the top of each other and you can't easily see it. Don't worry, this isn't like a UI kind of design flaw or anything. You can move it, just like you have it on the screen, drag and move. But you didn't know that one. Now, although I don't think you'll probably be doing this much in the winter because it is mighty cold in the UK, but say you've got your windows down or even your sunroof, for example, if you need to close them for a brief period of time, just hold the recirculation button and they'll both close, just like this. When you're done and you've gone past the, I don't know, the smelly van or the rubbish dump or something like that, just hold them and they'll go back to exactly the same position. But you didn't know that one either. And then the final one on climate control before we delve into the Mercedes-Benz key, some tips and tricks on that one. And the final one is actually regarding to the kind of voice assistant, which is found in a lot of Mercedes cars. So you don't have to give it an exact command of a change the temperature. You can say, hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
I'm feeling cold.
I'm increasing the temperature to 19 degrees.
There we go. And if you say it again, hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
I'm feeling cold.
I'm increasing the temperature to 21 degrees.
It'll basically just adjust the temperature in 2-degree increments. Now, when it comes to Mercedes-Benz keys, there's a load of tech packed in these little things. From a few things where they like turn off automatically, and then even things where you can just have it only unlock one door. Let's have a look at those now. So basically, all modern Mercedes have these kind of like counter-preventative measures to stop hacking and that sort of thing. So for example, I've been keeping perfectly still in here without disrupting the motion sensor in the key just up here. Yes, believe it or not, there's a motion sensor in the key. And look what happens now, because I've not barely moved in here, the key probably hasn't detected anything. So now, when I press that, nothing. Place the key in the mark space, see Ernie's mail, hasn't detected the key. Whereas if I move it or unlock it, then I'll be able to start it straight away because it's got a motion sensor on the inside. Just helps prevent hacking, you know, at home or that sort of thing. But if I go to grab it and move the key, now it will have detected some motion, which now means it should, there we go, it starts. Easy as that. Now, did you know you can also turn the key off quicker if you would like? Yes, it goes off after a few minutes or so, but you can turn the key off immediately. Now, this does vary on the different types of key. It roughly changed about, I'm going to say about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. So the old way was just pressing lock twice. Now the new way is holding lock, then pressing unlock twice. Very, very quickly, I should add. So the old way, literally with the Mercedes key, double press lock, and you'll have the red LED stay on for a few seconds. Now it won't do it on this car because this one is the new style key. The new style key, hold lock, press unlock twice really quickly. And if you look here with the red LED, it stays on for just a couple of seconds. So now this key is off. So the start-stop button or anything won't work until you press unlock. Alright, so what about if you want to unlock only the driver's door? Well, you can do that on Mercedes keys. All you do is literally hold lock and unlock for about 6 or 7 seconds. So holding, then the red LEDs will do long flashes. There we go, just like that. So now, if I lock the car, while you're there with the key on the other side, this won't work. And final one on the key, did you know if you hold unlock next to it, all the windows and the sunroof will open? And if you want to close it, hold lock and they'll all close. There's also another way to do this on the keyless. I'll show you that in a minute. So that's everything with the Mercedes key. What about what to do in an emergency? Well, I think I'll swap this for a different Mercedes. So in an emergency, how do you get in the car if, say for example, the battery's flat? I don't know, you've not driven the car in weeks on end or months on end or something. Well, on every key, there is what is called the blade of the key. So you can take the actual, the end of the key out and there's a metal bit. So where do you put that? Well, this varies from car to car. So on this particular car, it's actually on the passenger side just because of like left-hand drive kind of, I guess that's just how they are. But yeah, it's actually behind the door handle. So normally if the car was like completely, let me turn this off, you can pull that and there's actually a thing behind it there, see? And yeah, that's where the key goes in an awkward position, I will add. So obviously only do it in emergencies, but yeah, that's how you get in. So what happens if the key battery is dead? Obviously you can change the key battery, which I have a separate video which I'll link down below, but maybe you don't have access to a key straight away. How do you start the car? Well, there's actually, depending on the model, because it varies a little bit, somewhere in the middle there's going to be a little key symbol that looks just like this here. And all you do is put the key as pretty much as close to it as possible and go to turn it on, but it will take just a little bit longer. So the car's searching for the key, can't find it, then it will start using the, must be NFC or something like that in the key, and yeah, then it starts. So I'll just show you again, it takes just a little bit longer than like the normal start. So foot on the brake pedal, start. Now it starts. So it just takes a little bit longer. You don't need to keep pressing the start-stop button. Give it like 4 or 5 seconds because it searches wirelessly, can't find the key, then it checks that slot. Now, while we're on the topic of emergencies, did you know that all Mercedes-Benz out there have 30 years breakdown cover? Well, in the UK anyway, and there is a slight catch. This is providing its service by a main Mercedes-Benz dealership. And as long as you do that, they will continually extend and renew that breakdown cover up to 30 years, which is pretty cool. I don't think I know another car manufacturer that does that. I personally haven't had to use it yet, so touch wood, I don't have to use it. But for example, it's in my car and it's literally just a button up there that says me, or the picture of like a spanner or a wrench or something. Just press that and it will call them. Now, if the situation is a little bit more severe, and you can use this for other people as well, it doesn't have to be for you or your own car, there's also an SOS button up here. And yeah, if you press this, there's a safety catch, which looks like I'm about to deploy some rockets or something. But yeah, pressing that will ring the emergency team. This is a kind of emergency team based, I believe, at Mercedes-Benz, but they have direct access and can take vehicle data from your car just to help get emergency services out to you as quickly as possible when time is of the essence. Now on to some convenience tips and tricks. So the first thing is that quite a few cars do have this thing called easy entry and exit. And I've had a few people ask in the comment section as to why it doesn't work for them. And it's actually to do with the height and how far back this seat goes. So for me being 6'2" and particularly long legs, yes, I do have to mention this in quite a few videos because, well, I just do have long legs, so it's just quite important. But because I have the seat so far back, I have to because of my legs, the easy entry and exit won't work for me. There is a workaround, and kind of something that I recommend to people who fall into that same sort of situation where they have the seat quite far back, and it's to make use of the memory seats. Now on these memory seats they have M1, 2 and 3, and quite often, well, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you need 3 driving positions for your own driving position. So what I would do is do M1 for your driving position, 2 could be something else, and do number 3 for getting in and out. So yeah, just literally have the seat quite far back or in a position you'd like it to be in. Memory 3 for your kind of getting in and out, and then memory 1 for your driving position, and you can easily press them when the doors open as well. Now this next one is on Mercedes-Benz's camera systems, more specifically their 360-degree camera systems. So it looks like this, which is pretty cool, and yes, there'll be this element of black here as I have this camera here on the passenger side, but you can move it around, which is pretty cool like this. I mean, it still amazes me how it can capture all that detail just from cameras on the car. However, on some models, they have an extra symbol here, and this symbol will save the GPS position of where your car is. So say, for example, you have like a long drive, press that as you go onto a drive, and every time your car enters that position or that little area, it'll automatically turn on the camera. It's pretty cool. Sadly, it's not on this exact one, but obviously I've got some footage here to show you what it looks like. So it's pretty cool. Now, while we're on the camera system, Mercedes-Benz camera systems are very, very good. As we've just seen, you can touch on the screen and move it all the way around the car. You can even zoom in and out as well, and it even shows you your indicators. Completely unnecessary, but pretty cool. But that menu bar that keeps appearing and disappearing at the bottom actually shows you specific cameras. So that's the front camera, this is the rear camera, so obviously behind, this side, which obviously looks a bit cluttered because I said I've got the door open, but the right hand side will make a lot more sense. You can see your wheels, and you could even see what could be a curb when you're parking by the side of the road. Now for this next one actually relates to the parking sensors. Now I have mentioned this in previous videos before, but I still think it's one of the most valuable and one of the most important ones that anyone can do. So if you go all the way to settings on the far right hand side, go in here, make sure you're on the assistance tab, then go down to parking on the bottom and scroll down the page. You will see time of warning. Now I did feature this in a video very, very recently. I think it was a couple of months ago by the time you're watching this. And it's a very good demonstration, so we'll show you some footage of it here of when the sensors activate. Basically, as you get near objects, what Mercedes sensors do is beep when you're like literally this close. It's crazy. Whereas if you select this one, the early option, it will beep a lot further back, just like every other car out there. Up next is the hold mode. Now I have mentioned this a few times before on my channel. In fact, it was actually a couple of years ago when I last showed this, so I think it's about time I show it again. This is the hold mode. Now virtually every Mercedes-Benz has this, but did you know that when you're in drive you can actually hold it in drive? Let me show you what I mean. So we all know this here at the moment, we're in park. If I put my foot on the brake pedal, go into drive, of course if you take your foot off the brake pedal, you're going to start going forward. However, if you come to a stop and press the brake pedal down really firmly, short and sharp, you'll see hold. And now you can take your feet off the pedals and it'll be absolutely fine. It will hold in the hold until you press the accelerator pedal, and then you'll move forward again. Now I mentioned I was going to say something about the keyless thing from earlier. So yes, you can hold the lock button to shut all the windows and the sunroof, but did you know that if you have the keyless on the outside that looks like this little symbol just here, if you hold lock on here, you can shut the windows and the roof with the key still in your pocket. Easy. Now the last one before we move on to safety systems that you might want to kind of disable or even adjust, this one is the passenger mirror where you can drop it down to look at the curb. Now, pay close attention for when you put the car into reverse. So if I put my foot on the brake pedal here, into reverse, you'll notice that one of the mirrors lights up over here. You know, the kind of mirror adjustment? So at the moment it's on the right mirror, which means nothing happens. Obviously, just bear in mind you need to keep your foot on the brake pedal while doing this because I'm currently in reverse. And if I take my foot off the brake, you'll go backwards. So currently foot on the brake pedal, the right mirror is selected there. Now if I select the left mirror, now watch the mirror, it will go down. And if I adjust that, point it down at that wheel, there we go. Now I can see the curb. Makes it so much easier for parking. And that is of course if you don't have the 360 camera. Or you could use both if you're lucky enough to have both. Now lots of modern cars these days have lots and lots of safety systems, and in some scenarios on the road you might want to turn them off or adjust them and do all sorts of things. So take the speed warning assist, which I made a video about very recently, and a lot of you had well, a lot of comments to say about that kind of particular system found on new cars. Now this isn't a Mercedes-Benz thing, this is found on virtually every new car these days. And basically, if you don't know what it is, as you go over a speed limit, it will beep at you and let you know that you're speeding. And you might be thinking, well Nick, why would I be speeding? No, it's not that, it's the fact it uses kind of traffic sign recognition technology. And you know, literally, what was it, probably about 10 minutes ago, it was really sunny, so the sun could be shining right in the camera's eyes and it might not see it. So you might want to turn it off or just disable it. Annoyingly, you have to disable it per journey, but Mercedes made it very easy. It's top right of this screen here, and that's now off, or you can hold the mute button and it will turn off there as well. And you might be thinking, well hang on, what about lane assist? Well yes, lane assist is another thing that was introduced a few years ago now. I think it came out on Mercedes, the active lane assist in 2018. If you want to turn it off or adjust it, it's actually found in the settings menu on the main multimedia system here. Now the main adjustment is of course on settings and then assistance, but there is a quick access menu to toggle it on and off very quickly if you need to turn it off for like roadworks or something like that, or narrow country roads. That's in the settings icon just here, press that, active lane keeping assist off. It's super quick to turn it off, bottom left every single time. And then the final one is active brake assist. So active brake assist is well, it's basically a crash prevention system, not designed to replace, you know, human driving or anything, but just in the event that something happens in front of you that you haven't noticed, the car can actually apply the brakes and bring you to a safe speed or even a complete stop. But you can find sometimes it can get in the way and think you're going to crash into something when you're nowhere near that object. Say someone's turning off to the left and you just need to toggle off. You can adjust its sensitivity. So on the main multimedia system, just go all the way to settings on the far right hand side, go in here, then go to assistance, make sure you're in that tab, then go to collision avoidance. Then you'll notice active brake assist. If you go in settings, this is where you can adjust early, medium or late. As I said, this just allows you to adjust the sensitivity if you find it just intruding on your driving just a little bit too much. Now modern cars these days have a thing called a voice assistant, which is particularly useful while driving. In Mercedes it's called Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
And there she is there. Now I'm going to press the back button just to cancel it just for the second and give you some tips about some things you might not know about it. Now I do have a dedicated video on some of the tips and tricks that you can do on it. However, when it comes to specific ones that I think you ought to know, here's one for you. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Start Dashcam.
No dashcam recording is running.
Now, if I had a memory stick plugged in, then you'd actually be able to get the dashcam starting. So yes, some Mercedes-Benz models have a dashcam built in into their kind of augmented reality camera up here. So yes, instead of having to fumble around for menus and pressing up here and turning it on there, just tell it to start on your voice. Now, another very useful thing that not a lot of people know about is a thing called What 3 Words. Now, without going into too much detail about all the different things that What 3 Words does, just know that the car has that capability. Basically, this company have mapped the entire planet with all these kind of squares. So say you wanted to navigate to that building just literally over there, and more specifically the front door of that building, as long as you look at the kind of what those What 3 Words are from their app, you can navigate to it on the sat nav. So let me give you an example here. Where I used to film in Mercedes-Benz of Poole, that's where a lot of videos kind of started, the What 3 Words of their front door is twice, hugs, spins, according to the What 3 Words app. Now if you want to navigate there, rather than going to a road and getting lost or trying to type in a postcode and it taking you to the wrong place, just say these What 3 Words. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Navigate to What 3 Words, twice, hugs, spins.
Here is what I found. Where do you want to go?
1. Now that's a bit of a drive to do at the moment, although I don't live in Poole, so I'll have to do that drive in a minute, but yeah, I'll cancel that for now. Now yes, the voice assistant is pretty good in Mercedes, but maybe you don't want to use that. Maybe you want to use Siri, or maybe even you know, something on an Android. On the steering wheel there's this button here, this voice symbol. If you press this, it'll bring up the Hey voice assistant, so that's pretty good. But if you hold it, that'll activate Siri or the one that's on your smartphone. After this, and going back to the Hey Mercedes voice assistant, there's also direct commands. Now I have mentioned this a few times before. To see what the list is, if you go home and then settings, then go to system on the far right hand side, and then see it says Hey M. I won't say the exact phrase, otherwise it'll activate. But go into settings, and here you can see direct commands. And these are the ones that are supported for this car. So if you go down this list here, there's quite a few you can do. And look, there's the dashcam one that I mentioned a minute ago. So you could just say, start dashcam recording.
Recording a dashcam video is not possible, as no storage device is available.
As I said, only if I had a memory stick plugged in. But yeah, that is one way of doing it. You can even do the speed warning thing that I mentioned a minute ago as well. Oh, and the final one, this one's a bit gimmicky, but a few people have mentioned this. It's quite entertaining for kids. You can actually get the Hey voice assistant to do animal sounds. So I don't know what kind of animals it does, but it does do this weirdly. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
What does a unicorn sound like? Okay, moving on to the next tip and trick, and I assure you the next one will be a bit more valuable than that last one. Okay, so over halfway through now. Now, when it comes to changing your wipers, notice this. It's not easy to change them, because if you try and lift them up, it hits the bonnet. There is a hidden wiper service position that you might not know about. Let me show you how to do it. So to do that, all you need to do is put the ignition on, so one with all the lights on the kind of instrument cluster, turn it off, then immediately hold the wiper button in and they'll go up like that. So now you can pull them up away from the bodywork. Just remember to put them down before you turn the ignition back on. Now, for those of you lucky enough to have a, well, an electronic tailgate, which I would absolutely love on my car, of course you have a button. Now, if you press this, it will close the boot, and of course you can stop it, and you can open it at any point. If you didn't know that, then that's a bonus. But did you know you can actually reprogram the height? So, for example, say I only want it to open to that height. Just simply hold this button until you hear a bing. And now that's saved. So look what happens now when that completely closes up and then you open it again. It will now only open to that specified height. And if you want to reset it back to the default setting, just hold again and listen. You get 2 bings. Now it'll go back up to its original height. Now, you know those paddles which are on the steering wheel that barely anyone uses? Did you know there's a hidden thing on the left one? So if you're cruising, say what I'm doing at the moment, what, 44 miles an hour, hold the left paddle and it'll drop down to the lowest gear available, which in this case is actually gear 3, and then you've got all that power to accelerate. Particularly useful if, for example, here I'm going to go around a roundabout and I want to drop down a gear to have maximum power for when I leave said roundabout. So going around in auto at the moment and in sport mode to make use of the extra revs, hold the left paddle to drop down into the lowest gear, and away we go. You know, for a plug-in hybrid, this sounds good and it's pretty quick. Now, admittedly, yes, I was in 3rd gear there and only went to 2nd, but let's give you an example here. I'm doing more like 50, hold the left paddle, and it'll drop down to the lowest gear, gear 4. There we go. Right, on to the next one. Now, you've probably seen MBUX loads and loads of times on my channel, just because Mercedes is a big part of it. However, you notice the theme is, well, always blue, or in this case, it's got these colourful icons, but if we change this to classic, you'll see it's all blue. Did you know there's a red theme? Over on the instrument cluster, if you change this to the sport theme, all of this goes red. And not everyone knows that, because now you have this quite nice red theme, which goes quite well with the red ambient lighting. So yeah, red theme over here. Oh, and the last one on the things you might not know will involve a sunroof. Now, annoyingly, this car doesn't have a sunroof, but I have tested this before and I can confirm it does work. Did you know that if you've accidentally left your sunroof open and it starts raining, the rain sensor can detect it and then it'll shut the sunroof for you? Mercedes think of everything. Now onto some quick fire tips and tricks on the multimedia system. So everyone's seen this before. I've mentioned this before as well on my YouTube channel and some other tips and tricks. But yeah, if you don't like the pin, then you can turn it off. Let me show you how. But first, need to log in. Again, no peeking while I put my number in.
Good afternoon, Nick O'Leary.
Yeah, and also greets you as well. Now to turn the pin off, very, very easy. Just go to your profile on the top right hand corner, then go to settings. Of course, make sure you're logged in when you do this. Then go to protect content and just toggle off access protection, then tap yes. Now it will just log in with a simple tap. Just remember to do this for the other profiles on there, which can have up to 7. Now some models of Mercedes, I haven't noticed it on the later ones like this one, they have a thing called commuter route. And this is randomly at certain times of the day, depending on the routes you're doing, you'll just find the sat-nav will just automatically start silently and just start navigating you home. And you're like, why? It's purely because you've got your home and work saved in your sat-nav, and this thing called commuter route is enabled. And commuter route basically just, I guess, silently navigates you home or silently navigates you to work, letting you know live traffic. But some people might not want that, and you can turn it off. Now, if you are a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I absolutely love Apple CarPlay. However, some of you might not like that, and some of you just might want to use the native multimedia system, so MBUX in this case, in the car. Could be for various reasons, from maybe it's an EV, or maybe you just like the system in general. Now you can get text messages to come through almost like notifications, just up here on the top here like that. And the way you do that is actually on iPhones. When you connect an iPhone up, it doesn't automatically turn this on. So on your iPhone, you have to go to settings, then go to Bluetooth, find your car in this list, tap on the I, and then turn on show notifications. This will allow you to have text messages come through, and then the MBUX multimedia system can then even read them out to you. Now, did you know that you can reorder the icons on the main menu, the home screen here? So, I don't know, say you use media more than the others, tap and hold, and then you can drag them onto other pages, just like this. There you go, move them around, reorganize them, whichever way you would like, as easy as that. There's also a day and night design on the sat-nav. Now this used to be on MBUX NTG6, so that was like generation 1 MBUX, that used to be in the system settings right on the far right. It's now moved to the navigation. So if you go in here, navigation, tap on the car, settings, view, then go down the page and you'll see maps color scheme. This does only affect the map, but day looks like this, and night looks like this. So user preference, of course, there's the automatic one as well. This will automatically come on when the headlights come on, I believe, or around about that time anyway. So yeah, one way you can toggle between the two. And speaking of the map, did you know there's a satellite view as well? Now this does, I believe, work through the Mercedes Me account, so I'll leave a link in the description down below. I did a video very recently on the Mercedes-Benz app that does need to be all linked for this to work from what I've seen. But if you go to navigation, then go back into this settings menu again, settings, and then view, you can see satellite map there on the top. Toggle that on, and then it kind of gives you what we'd all describe like a Google Earth kind of view. So there we go, you can see I'm clearly in a car park in the very glamorous Milton Keynes right now. But yeah, gives you a satellite view of where you are, right next to a lake. Now you can also do this for the instrument cluster as well. If you press home and then go across to the navigation section, press OK, and then you can go to map settings. Go in here and toggle on the satellite map, and you can do this independently from the multimedia system, or if you would like, have 2 satellite maps. Now modern cars have their fair share of different drive modes. Take Mercedes for example, they have comfort and sport and eco modes and various different things, and if you have an AMG like a fast car, then it might have a race mode, or if you have an SUV potentially like this one, it'll have an off-road mode. But they all have individual, which is your own custom driving mode, and you can customize this to whatever you want it to be. So yes, depending on the car, individual can let you change the engine, gearbox, to steering, to suspension, and even ESP settings as well. It purely depends on the car. But have a look in there and customize your own unique custom mode. Now earlier I mentioned about the left paddle, about how you can hold it to drop down to the lowest gear. But did you know you can also do things with the right paddle as well? Now, say you put the car into manual mode, so I'm in D6 at the moment. If I tap one of the paddles, I'm now in manual 5. So I can drop down a gear quite easily, number 4 here. But if you hold the right paddle, everything will go back to automatic about a second later. You don't have to wait for the car to go back to automatic for you. which, if you didn't know, if you leave it for about, I think it's about 5, 6, maybe 7 seconds, it will go back to automatic, as long as you're not doing any kind of intense sporty driving, just driving kind of normally, staying at the same speed, it'll go back on its own. Now, did you know some cars also have a race mode? Yes, some cars do, and I'm pretty sure it's 80–90% of AMGs. Now, sadly, this isn't an AMG by any means, this is actually a plug-in hybrid, but it will go pretty quickly. But it doesn't feature a race start, but the way you would do a race start is basically you put your left foot on the brake pedal, push down hard into hold like this, and then you plant your right foot down, then release your left foot, which is, well, what will currently be on the brake pedal. What this will do is accelerate you really, really quickly, as fast as the car can do. Now, this car doesn't have a race start mode because it's not an AMG, but I can assure you it's pretty quick. This is what it's like in an A35. Oh my god. Yeah, AMGs are a whole lot of fun. I really, really would like to get one day. That A35 rekindled my love with AMGs. Maybe one day, we'll see. Now, speaking of the paddles, you can put the car into a manual mode, as we said, with the left paddle and the right paddle. So what are we in at the moment? D2. If I go into manual mode, I can control the gears manually like this. But if you leave it for a little while, it will go back to automatic. And as I mentioned, I don't know the exact time, it's like 6, 7, maybe 10 seconds or so. There, it's back to automatic already, so it was around about 6, 7 seconds. But what about if you want to stay in manual mode all the time and have full control of the gears? You can do that. It's on that quick access menu. Just press settings and then you can see it there, manual shifting. Tap that and then you can go manual all the time. Now you're in full control of the gears and it will not change until it hits the rev limiter. And of course, as you slow up as well, it will automatically go down a gear to stop the car from stalling. So still got some safety measures there, but it gives you maximum control over the gearbox, especially in this, because it's quite powerful for a plug-in hybrid. You would associate plug-in hybrids normally with being electric and stuff, but no, if you put it in sport mode, it uses the electric and the engine to really, really go. I love Milton Keynes. There's just roundabouts everywhere and every road is 60. Okay, so that's enough of the racy kind of stuff for now. What about some more sensible things? Well, this would be your speed limiter and cruise control. So, as I mentioned, Milton Keynes has a lot of roundabouts, many, many, many roundabouts, and a lot of the speeds around here are 60, like this road. Now, I'm currently doing 46, so if I put the cruise control on, it's just going to stick at 46. But if you want to copy what the traffic sign recognition has picked up, which is 60 there, just press resume, it says res on the steering wheel, twice. Because there's like a little symbol next to it with a traffic sign. And if you do that, it will now go straight to 60. Saves you having to keep pressing the plus and minus button continuously to get to that number that you're after. And of course, as always, if you put your foot on the brake pedal, it will turn it off. Now, for the last couple on driving, did you know that you can reset your tyre pressures? So all you do on the steering wheel is press home, swipe all the way across to service on the far right hand side, and then you can see your tyre pressures here, but it's not immediately clear how you reset them. Just press OK, and this will bring up either any messages, so any warning messages you need to know of, and then tyre pressures. Press OK, and then you can reset them there just like that. Another thing that's very useful is, of course, your full beams. So at the moment, it's not sufficient to be using your headlights just because it's, well, sort of day, but if you go to put your full beam on, it doesn't actually do anything. Nothing on the instrument cluster, nothing outside the car, but you can still flash the lights like that. So how do you keep full beam on manually all the time? That is on this light switch here. All you do is flick that round to the 1 o'clock position. Now your dip beam will be on like this, and then you can push this stalk away, and now full beam will stay on for as long as you like. Just bear in mind that the automatic full beam won't work in this mode, you're doing it manually, so just be careful not to dazzle any oncoming cars towards you. Now, the last few are on the Mercedes-Benz app. So I actually did a video about this recently, and I recommend everyone just install it because certainly you do get a few things free for the first few years of ownership. And even simple things like getting notifications that your car's unlocked. So see it actually coming through to my watch here. It's pretty cool. This is what the app looks like here, and this is my own car. And you can unlock and lock it, you can do the windows, you can put the lights on. I said you even get notifications through as well if an alarm goes off when you're not there, because it's all connected over the internet via the Vodafone network. And you can locate it on a map and see where you last parked it, so pretty cool. But Mercedes-Benz also brought out something new quite recently, which is the Apple Watch app. So yes, you even get some of this functionality on the Apple Watch now as well. As you can see here on the screen, a few different things you can do: unlock and lock it remotely, and locate it on a map as well. So a little bit more simplified in its functionality on the Apple Watch. Most of the functionality is on the actual app itself. Now, the other thing you can do is set up widgets. Now, widgets are the big app icons, basically. Now, if I open up a spare page, go to edit, add a widget, and if I go down this list, Mercedes is now in this list. There it is, Mercedes-Benz, and you can add a widget, and you can even make it bigger and have the unlock windows and the light function, which I'm presuming would also be the auxiliary heating on compatible cars, on your home screen. That's quite cool. And the final tip and trick I want to show you today is the function where you can send sat-nav destinations through to the car. So to send sat-nav destinations through from the Mercedes-Benz app to the sat-nav on here, all you do is go to the bottom right, so where the vehicle location thing is, just go on here and just go to search along the bottom. So I'm just going to type in Milton Keynes, which I did a few moments ago. Milton Keynes Central, that'll do. And then in the middle here, send to vehicle. Tap that one, choose the car on the list here, so I'll send it to this car, send, and then it'll appear up there on the very top, just like that. So there we go, guys, that concludes this week's video on the largest and longest tips and tricks video I've ever done on Mercedes-Benz. But guys, let me know your thoughts down below if you have any questions, and of course if you have any future suggestions on videos you'd like to see, pop them in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see you then.